Welcome to the first episode of the IDW Universe section of Transformers lore. The events of the IDW Generation 1 comics are easily my favorite Transformers universe. We'll be covering the events of the universe arc by arc, starting with the 4-issue miniseries Megatron Origin. There was a time Cybertron was peaceful, a time where warfare had not ravaged the planet. This is Cybertron 4 million years ago, but peace is not in place because there's no discontent. The Senate of Cybertron rules the planet, and the entitled senators rule the planet with an iron fist. Social classes dominate the lives of Cybertronians. The corrupt law the Senate puts in place is enforced by their law enforcement agency, the Autobot Security Services, under the command of Sentinel Prime. At this time, Cybertron is undergoing a huge energon crisis. In order to combat this, the Senate has begun a policy of automating their energon mines, firing the living miners and replacing them with automaton sentinels that can run the mine cheaply. As the Senate automates mine after mine, the next mine in sight is orbiting mining outpost Crodius 12. On this mine lives a certain miner by the name of Megatron. Megatron works his days here in peace. He might not be happy with the hand fate dealt him, but at least he isn't forced to take a life. At least, not yet. Senator Decimus arrives on Crodius 12 and initiates an assembly, stating that C-12 is to be automated. He promises the miners new jobs, but these white lies are not accepted by the miners. One miner speaks up, calling out Senator Decimus on his lies. Decimus has one of his Autobot security guards beat the miner to death. In response, the miners revolted. During this revolt, Megatron personally throws a pickaxe right into the shoulder of Senator Decimus. An Autobot guard and Megatron end up in a fight, and Megatron is shocked when the guard pulls out a blaster. At the brink of death, Megatron makes a split-second decision and kills the guard. What did I... No. No. Oh no. Seeing the death of an Autobot guard, the Autobots open fire on the crowd, murdering many miners. The survivors of the revolt, including Megatron, are loaded onto a ship called the Longshot, while the wounded senator takes his ship back to Iacon. While the Longshot is en route to a penal colony, the mine survivors Frenzy and Rumble meet with Megatron, and they manage to convince Megatron to help them take over the ship, as Rumble's pile drivers allow them to break the constraints. Megatron took over the Longshot and had the prison ship fire on Senator Decimus' ship, damaging it. Megatron then took the Longshot to the slums of the city Kaon, wanting the Autobots to be focused on saving their senator, rather than hunting them down. Speaking of the Autobots, Prowl and Sentinel Prime are in Kaon, and Prowl sends a response team to rescue the senator. Sentinel Prime mentions that he hates the Senate for stepping in the way of the Autobots one too many times. Some time passes, and the Cybertronian named Clench has established a gladiator ring in Kaon called the Forge. Among his inner circle include Frenzy and Rumble, and the Forge has been running for quite some time. However, only now Megatron has decided to involve himself with the ring. In his first round, he fights the veteran gladiator Psykill, but he hesitates when it comes to killing him. However, the crowd ultimately pressures Megatron into killing the gladiator. Meanwhile, in Iacon, a senator by the name of Ratbat meets with his servant Soundwave to continue to oppress the Cybertronian populace. Just by sitting in his room, Soundwave presents his master with the news, to which Ratbat gives his orders as to what should happen with these events. He puts the construction business out of jobs, making the Constructicons unemployed. He issues reports that deny that Cybertron is undergoing an energon crisis while he stockpiles energon for himself. However, a certain news report catches his attention. He finds that the Autobot security forces under Prowl are currently investigating the underground gladiator rings of Kaon. In these rings, Megatron is continuing to rise to the ranks, winning battle after battle. Finally, a team battle takes place in the Forge, and one of his team members is Clench, the Ringmaster. During the fight, a gladiator from the opposing team spears Clench, and Megatron takes the opportunity to finish the job. With Clench dead, Megatron himself takes command of the Forge. Megatron's rise in the ranks has caught the attention of Prowl and his forces, and Sentinel Prime takes direct control of the Autobots in the mission to bring down Megatron. He sends in the Autobots Bumper and Fastback to investigate where the Forge is. Bumper and Fastback scout out the slums of Kaon for hours until finally they get movement. The Constructicons arrive. The Constructicons melt down several of the empties, or homeless Cybertronians, to create materials that begin to build the arena. It is here that Bumper and Fastback come to the realization that the arena is built on-site and taken down every single night to avoid detection. However, they are surprised when Megatron arrives. Megatron had received notification that the arena was ready, but he is surprised to see it still under construction. This is when Soundwave appears and reveals that he called Megatron here. See, Senator Ratbat sent Soundwave to make a deal with Megatron. To find Megatron, Soundwave snooped around before making bribes to find his way to the arena site. What was the deal Soundwave was supposed to make? Well, he unveils various weapons and tells Megatron that he will give him those weapons if Megatron uses them as he sees fit. However, Soundwave and Megatron notice Bumper and Fastback. The two are quickly captured and Megatron kills Fastback to show what will happen if Bumper doesn't answer the questions he has for him. Soundwave momentarily calms down Megatron and reads the mind of Bumper, finding that the Autobots are onto them. After the successful interrogation, Megatron then kills Bumper. Sentinel Prime holds a funeral for the two Autobots. During this funeral, he gives a speech about how the criminals need to be taken down. Much later, Megatron's forge continues to run. He's sent out Soundwave to find a flight-capable combatant, and he returns with three brothers by the name of Skywarp, Thundercracker, and Starscream. Starscream is a huge fan of the Forge and a huge fan of Megatron himself, and immediately swears his allegiance upon seeing him. However, Megatron reveals that Starscream would not fight in the ring. Megatron reveals that he intends to start a revolution against the corrupt Senate, and he wants to use the Seekers as his flight unit. Megatron wastes no time as he immediately sends out the brothers to Iacon. In Iacon, Senator Decimus is present at the unveiling of a statue in his honor when Starscream and his brothers attack. Starscream kidnaps Decimus, and a new symbol is painted in blood over the Autobot symbol, the Decepticon symbol. Throughout the next few weeks, the Decepticons launch various raids and operations, and Senator Ratbat can't help but watch the news. Industrial sectors are sabotaged, corporate sectors are poisoned, bombs are detonated throughout Kaon, resource flows are disrupted, the various spaceports of Kaon are blown up. It is at this point that Senator Ratbat realized that this has gotten out of control. So began the night of the war. Megatron underwent the last day of preparation for his war. He had Frenzy and Rumble refitted into new bodies that were compatible to be part of Soundwave. He held a rally in which the aspiring gladiators from across the planet arrived. While many of these were ruffians like the Predacons, the Stunticons, and other future Decepticons, others included the brothers Sideswipe, Sunstreaker, and the Dinobots. Which, by the way, Dinobots in this universe is spelled with a Y. Megatron rallies these Cybertronians and unveils that he intends to strike out across Cybertron against the Senate. He then unveils Senator Decimus and hands him over to the crowd for them to kill. Just then, Sentinel Prime, Prowl, and the Autobots launched an attack on the rally. In the confusion, much of these Decepticons were captured, including Megatron. The Decepticons were loaded onto prison ships in Kaon, and the Senate was to have an emergency session to discuss how to deal with these criminals. Soundwave was allowed to leave the ships as Senator Ratbat secured his release. He wasn't the only Decepticon to be released. Starscream whispered to a guard, intending to give him information to secure his freedom. Megatron saw this and ordered the Decepticons in the cage to kill Starscream. The Autobots quickly rescued Starscream and escorted him to the Senate. The only problem is, this wasn't Starscream being a traitor. This was actually a plan Megatron and Starscream had discussed. Starscream was brought before the Senate. Let this special hearing of the Kaon Council be marked as in commencement. Prisoner Starscream, I am required to list your charges as follows: assault, murder, armed robbery, destruction of state property, inciting civil disobedience, extortion, kidnapping, receiving and selling stolen goods, passing counterfeit funds, firing upon a state senator, multiple counts of attacks on state officers and state property, supplying known criminals with illegal weaponry, vehicle theft, and misrepresenting yourself as a state official. Heh, nobody is perfect. The Senate proceeded to reprimand Starscream, who replied, Listen up, I am here for a reason. I have a message for you, all of you, from all those in your cells. Through your own interest you created this. You brought us here. You didn't just make it possible, you made it happen. All we did was give it a badge. After this, Soundwave arrived, and Starscream and Soundwave massacred the Senate where they sat. Starscream flew over to the prison ships, where he set all the prisoners free. The Decepticons later met, and Soundwave provided the whole group with weapons. Starscream himself provided Megatron with a fusion cannon. Megatron used this new cannon to blow a hole in the wall, allowing the Decepticons to rain on Kaon.
Fall on them as predators do prey. Show no mercy. Everything, all of this, burns. Wake up, Cybertron. Your era is ending.
The Battle of Kaon was the first battle of the war. Skywarp and a hesitant Thundercracker shot down civilian ships. Senator Ratbat began to make moves to secure his relocation to Iacon when Soundwave arrived. Senator Ratbat was shocked to see that Soundwave had actually went beyond being a dealer with the Decepticons, but actually joined the Decepticons. At this point, Soundwave shot through Ratbat and took his spark, putting it into one of his cassettes, dooming Ratbat to being a soldier under Soundwave. Sentinel Prime wore the Apex armor into battle and did battle with Megatron personally. However, Megatron easily gained the upper hand in the battle.
I've heard it said that we only gain wisdom through suffering, and tonight I intend to make you very wise.
Megatron beat Sentinel Prime within an inch of his life, and had the Prime dropped over to where Prowl was leading his forces. Upon seeing the near-dead body of Sentinel Prime, Prowl ordered a retreat and the Autobots fled back into Iacon, ending the Battle of Kaon. Megatron looked at the horizon of a new era.
I want you to 教えてよその仕組みを僕の名を